Hold tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libas. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
Just what the flipping Nora are you all lot doing?
I'm still in there. I'm still right behind him.
It was just a very well thought out tactical plan by Danny.
I want goals.
I can literally feel the steam coming out your ears.
So it's like a fun little post-game snack.
The Wednesday Week!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. No wages still, no players, no coaching staff, dodgy North Stand, no word from the club or the owner. It's great being a Wednesday night, isn't it? Pre-season at its best. Guys, I'm joined by Charlie, Stevie and Si to flick over what we've gone through in the last week of Sheffield Wednesday World. Lads and lasses. Ain't it good? Charlie, how are we? How was your weekend? We'll get the exciting stuff out of the way because no doubt it's going to go all downhill from here.
Exciting stuff. I went to an antique store. That was exciting. The weekend. That's what it's come to with no football on a Saturday. I was going antiquing.
And that's where we'll be shopping for our transfers
yeah.
as well, won't it?
I was looking to see if there's anyone available. And Mosa just was really warm at work all week. It's been hot as hell.
Simon, how are you, matey? Good weekend.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Although it just seemed, like we had everybody in the whole of the country had every window open of the house over the weekend. I'm now living in a house I'm sharing a house with a family of flies by the looks of it. Because they get in, but they don't go, do they? So it's yeah.
Have you named one Chansiri then?
I said flies, not. Yeah.
Anyway,
moving on.
Stevie, how are we? I know I've seen you over the weekend, but have you had a good run?
Yeah, it's been all right, mate. Thank you. Low key. Do you know what? Ironically, for all the crap that's going on at the club, there hasn't actually been any significant, I say significant movements. There's not been a great deal going on over the weekend, has there? It's all been rumour, conjecture, and wait and see what happens next. So I know we'll get into a few bits this week, but in relative terms to the last couple of weeks, it's been scrolling, doom scrolling, waiting, wondering, refreshing, buffering. I'm sure we'll get into it. We'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, I did wonder over the weekend. I did put a tweet out about it being a bit quiet, and I was just wondering if the Wi-Fi had gone down in Miller, Statton's, or Cran's computers, because none of them really were posting anything, especially of anything of negativity, which seems to be a daily occurrence, doesn't it? Hence why we're here.
I think Alex has been on holiday, hasn't he? I had a catch up with him a while back. He said he'd been on holiday. So,
but that's the most deserved holiday anyone ever. Just like so burnt out.
It does appear normal service has been resumed this morning, though, doesn't it?
How dare you have a holiday? Yeah. So everyone who's in the chat, watching and listening, if you've listened over the last couple of weeks, what we've been doing on these shows is just going through roughly day by day, because it's been that much of a shit show, excuse my language, of Sheffield Wednesday, that there is enough to talk about for every day that's gone by. I know we've had a couple of quiet days, like we've just said, but yeah, we'll get into it. So we'll just finish off, because I know, Simon, you weren't on last week, but there was, while we're on air, we had the breaking news of like an interview with The Athletic with Adam Shaw, and he gave his things, and I think halfway through, I think it was Beth was reading it off and things. So he claims there was two bids that have been turned down, one of $65 million and one of $75 million. So the offers are there if you believe in them. So got to be getting close now, aren't we?
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? But I don't. I've only really had one experience of a football club being taken over, which was obviously Chansiri buying Sheffield Wednesday.
How's that going, Si? Remind me, how did that one end up?
Just
well,
10 years on, the jury's still out, apparently. So we got a scoreboard. Anyway, I've not experienced one before, and that was quite a. It just happened, didn't it? Where nobody was aware of it, and then it just out of the blue, we were purchased. I don't know. All I keep thinking of, I drive past Tilsa on a fairly regular basis because I work up that neck of the woods, and I just go drive past the old girl and see stuff being, I think they've done the pitch now and stuff like that, and you hear the stories about the North Stand, and I just look at it and just think it's crying out for investment, and obviously we'll go through this week of the saga that is Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. But you just think to yourself, if a group of people care so much for the club and our fans, then rather than keep talking about it in the press, just get on with it. Just get on with it. Because the further down the line we get, the closer we're getting to having to pay HMRC. We've now got this month's salaries to pay to everybody, and we've only just paid the staff. So I don't know whether we've paid players. It's just rolling on and on and on. So in my mind, I'm just saying, get on with it if you're going to do it. If not, it's a put up and shut up. If not, please, somebody else come in and get us. Please, please, please.
And there's a passionate plea from Simon of the Wednesday Week to anybody who's got a couple of quid down the back of the sofa. And it will take more than a couple of quid. Right, Stevie, we'll get into it Tuesday. Obviously, Tuesday on the Sheffield Wednesday timeline was quite an important day. Probably one of the most information heavy days, should we say, or causes for optimism. If anyone's seen it, BBC football heaven Rob Staten. I'm sure I'm gonna next time I see him, I'm gonna have to clear that up. I have to say because I ain't got a clue. Had a certain ex-Wednesday owner on, a Milan Mandaric. What did you make that, Stevie? Because he come on and he said some interesting stuff.
He did. He said some really positive things, and it was, if you sit objectively and listen to what was being sort of relayed and reported, it all bodes well, doesn't it? Involvement with the man who previously, for those that are listening rather than watching, I'm using air quotes, inverted commas, previously saved us by selling us to Mr. Chansiri. If you want to go down that sort of narrative, so to speak. I think at this stage, just to take a step back and look at it from one point of view, at the moment, anything that isn't Dejphon Chansiri is a positive. So it could be Milan Mandaric, it could be Adam Shaw, and I mean this without any sort of shade being thrown at anyone. Mandaric, Shaw, it could be, Mike Ashley, whoever it is. You'll get the odd person here or there that says, I don't want this and I don't want that. However, people are clinging on to change, and I think that's something that you've got to sort of temper every argument, discussion point, and everything that we're talking about and people getting excited about. That said, if you take it at face value, the things that he was saying were really positive. He talked about having an affinity to Sheffield Wednesday. He talked about the fans. I believe he put the Massive in there at some point. I've heard Massive being mentioned at some point this week, which, box ticked. I think his quote, I'm just looking at one of his quotes, his comments included the discussion of how he was given all the commitments in the world when he agreed to sell the club. And then he came back and said, although it is clear that the club now needs serious help, he believed that Chansiri's been ill-advised, made the wrong decision leading to the club finding itself in its current predicament. And then he goes on to talk about the supporters who are suffering and, the ultimate stumbling block being the asking price that Chansiri wanted, which he described as crazy. We've talked about that. We can't keep talking about the crazy asking price week in, week out. So let's just park that for a moment. Yeah, it's a stumbling block, but on the surface, Mandaric coming in on his, and there were a few people with the white on the white horses, weren't they? He's going to be the saviour, if you like, and him riding in last minute to save everybody. You can look at it from, like I said, from 2 points: the point of view that he is the saviour and it's going to be a positive, or the point of view that it's just another fork in the road or a something to sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, to murky the waters, if you like.
Yeah, he did come on and he did mention this £10 million owing to him. I think that's how it was owed, and I think the belief was that if we got to the Premier League, there was an outstanding payment of 10 million. But then also, I think people come out with that it was also 10 million owed him to him if he sold it as well. So I think that there's stuff there that he's coming over, and he did mention he was going to come and try and sit down with either Chansiri himself or his advisors or his people. It can't be just about the money for Mandric, can it, Charlie? If this 10 million, because I think, like Stevie says, the way he spoke and way he come across, and he has got a big affinity with a lot of fans as well.
Yeah, he almost doesn't. He doesn't come across like a man that's just come to collect his pence. And certainly, if he's read anything over the last couple of months, he knows he's not going to get his money back. So it had a real feeling of just you wait till your father gets home about it. It really felt like he'd kind of come back to tell him off a little bit. It did feel positive. I wonder what else there was in that deal. We've talked before about there's so much stuff goes on behind the scenes that you never really you never know what the exact kind of promises that might be made to something. And it's interesting as well, he makes that ill-advised comment, because it makes you wonder whether there were things that were kind of agreed at the beginning that made him feel that, yep, Chansiri is going to take this on and carry this on. And obviously in those early first years, we had no reason to kind of doubt that as well, I guess. He seemed to be putting his money where his mouth was. Makes you wonder whether things have then since happened that have come from little birds in his ear that are clearly against perhaps the original agreement. I don't know. It made for an interesting interview, and I think it did show that he clearly has it, because I'm sure I read, and this may just be hearsay, that he was going to waive the 10 million that he was owed. I don't know if someone else saw that, whether he was going to be and it's well, you're not going to get it if the agreement is for us to be the Prem. You'll be lucky if we're still in the English Football League in the next couple of years. But yeah, it felt like he'd come back for something that he cared about and was invested in from a fan's perspective. So yeah, maybe it will come to something. I don't know.
Yeah, we've had a comment here. Anthony Beale said, playing devil's advocate, Milan might just want to secure his 10 million. That's true, Simon, isn't it? He might be coming over here. You don't know, and you would love, and I hope he's coming over for the right reasons. He's seen the struggles that obviously the club's in, the fans are absolutely every second on social media. For an 86-year-old to jump on a plane and come over from his probably his plush place in Florida. It's got to be more than just 10 million, the money into it.
Yeah, I think the guy knows football. The guy has done deals in the past. He's taken clubs, bought them for nothing, and turned them into profit. He's no mug, is he? He made us into a club that was, treading water in the Championship, but one that was breaking even every year and was a viable business to buy without investing a huge amount of money in us, and he did very well out of it. In regards to 10 million, I read somewhere that it was if we got promoted to the Premier League. But like you say, like Charlie said, you don't know what goes in the murky world of football. Nobody does. There could have been all sorts of clauses related to that. I think he's got an affinity with the club, like the fans had with him. So he sees the trouble we're in, and I think what he does see is the fact that the owner is basically copping a death one to everybody, isn't he? He's literally ghosting everybody. He's fallen out with the fans, and it's just gone that way. What we need to look at is that, him brokering a deal would be the best thing that could possibly happen out of this, what you mentioned earlier on, shit show that is Sheffield Wednesday. And it's got to be a positive. We've got to take a positive, guys, because we've not had many, have we, since the end of the season?
No.
And I think that's what it is, isn't it, Stevie? I think there's people just looking. Obviously, what we're going through in the last few months is trying to grasp onto anything, and this is a positive. That on the face of it, it definitely is. An ex-owner wanted to quit, and I know people have questioned, well, he sold the club to Chancery. Well, come on. You can't, surely you can't blame. I know he tried to sell it to, excuse me, is it Magmadov? You know, the land of fire.
Yeah.
I think that's where we always,
Azerbaijani guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And that obviously fell flat. And then did he just go, who's the next mug to come? I'm sure he didn't. And you'd love to think that, would you? But he did sell it. And some people are on there going, well, it's his fault for selling to Chancery. But you can't say that, can you, Stevie? Because you sell a car. I know it's a different analogy, but selling a car and then something happens 10 years later to that car, it's not the previous owner's fault, is it?
No, but you'd sell a car with a full service history, wouldn't you? And you'd do your due diligence, and you'd have a look at what sort of shape the car was in before you bought it, regardless of the price. You'd know how many miles were on the clock. You'd know if any body work would want to be done. Take that analogy however far down you want to take it. I don't think that we will ever know how much work Milan Mandaric did in terms of looking into Chancery before he sold the club to him. I think it's irrelevant now, and I do maintain that, dare I say it, and I'll put my hard hat on when I do say it, I do believe that at heart Chancery had the best intentions for this football club. I don't think he was ever intending for it to get as far as it's got, and I just think he's now got to a point where he's circling the drain a little bit. And we talk about these unrealistic valuations for the club. The valuations for the club are unrealistic because Chancery needs that much money, and that it doesn't take a genius to know if you can't pay the wages, you can't do the repairs to the ground, which do need to be done, whatever you want to look at it. You can't improve the infrastructure of the academy or the training facilities. Like I said, players aren't getting paid on time. We're putting band-aids on things and we're papering over the cracks here and there. There's a cash flow problem. The extent to it, we don't know. However, there's no getting away from it. The man has run out of money. We wouldn't be 7 days away from June's payday, HMRC needing pay. We get into that sort of tax window as well. We wouldn't have found ourselves in these situations if he was cash healthy, shall we say. So something's happened somewhere, hasn't it? And we've just got to a point now where he needs help, and we need to find somebody or a solution to the problem that means he's going to get the help to move on from the club that he's going to get.
Yeah, I think with all of this, I have a general, maybe skepticism is a bit harsh, but I think we should always be generally suspicious of people with lots of money, not just in football, just in general. Very few people as individuals have lots and lots and lots of money and aren't possibly a little bit dodgy, which is why generally the idea of a consortium or like a group is probably a good way of going in a way, because it's not just one big evil guy with loads of money. But I've always been very kind of like, oh, do we really just want to pass from pillar to post, from crap guy to crap guy? I think the problem we've got now is we are on life support. Like right now, it's like, we'll worry about the consequences of that later. I really do think that it's absolute crunch time. Like, we're bleeding out. And if we don't get that change immediately within the next end of this sentence, I really don't know. Like, breaking news, hello, like anything. Just, I don't know. Like, these, even if it's not Adam Shaw, even if it is Adam Shaw, even if you might have your suspicions or your worries and your concerns, which are all valid, I think at this moment it's like, get the next guy in. It's got to happen soon, because we're in free fall, and I think something's got to happen. And I don't know. Is there a chance that maybe Mandric, I don't know, is he going to offer to, like, I don't know, not buy us back, but would he, I don't know, potentially be involved in that deal in some way? Like, something that Chancery is of it, despite the fact that it's like, you're refusing to surrender, even though clearly everything has gone to hell for reasons unknown, you still aren't letting us pull the plug for you. Is he going to sweeten it in some way? There's that missing thing that Chancery, because if some of the rumoured numbers are to be believed, you're like, surely there's no way he wants more than that. Like, and like, I don't know, is there something that could maybe be?
Mandaric is a businessman. I'm sure if they can, like I said, he can make a couple of quid for coming over here to facilitate any sort of deal with brokerage or anyone who might even be sniffing at looking at, and he can smooth it over. I don't know. I've got DC's phone number. Do you want him or stuff like that? It's
I think the problem you've got, and Charlie hit the nail on the head in regards to, we're almost at that life support machine's been switched off and we're just basically twitching on the bed, is the fact that we're getting to that tipping point now of we've got coaching staff now who are basically their contracts run out. We've got playing staff who haven't been paid, who can then bring in the clause of breach of contract, so who could actually leave. We've got people we've offered contracts to who theoretically could say, well, what's the point? Because I ain't going to get paid, so I'm not going to renew my contract. And there are a few guys there amongst that group of people we've offered contracts to who are wanted by other clubs or could quite easy to walk into other clubs, maybe not in the Championship, but maybe in League One or some in the Championship. We've also got assets who could say breach of contract. So your Gasamas, your Masabas, the people who we're saying are worth some money, your Pierce Charles, people who have got saleable assets there, we could end, and then we could end up with no coaching staff, no players, because even the contracted ones could talk about leaving, a stadium that needs some work doing on it, a training ground that hasn't been finished yet, a load of disgruntled staff who again haven't got paid or get paid, whatever. The list goes on. We haven't seen any meetings of a new kit. I mean, we could be playing in last year's kit because we haven't paid bills at Macron. I mean, I'm making this shit up, but this you can't make this. To be honest,
you can't be doing that.
You couldn't.
But you couldn't make that shit up. I was about to say exactly that, Steve. But to be honest, you just couldn't make this shit up, could you? It's impossible.
I think. Sorry, Simon. I think people in the chat and you guys might think, but I'm sure the kits were available this time last year, next week.
Yeah,
I think it was like right. The last June or 1st July, because my lad's birthday is the 4th of July, and I'm sure he got one for his birthday.
Coincides with Al's in the Park. That's one. I mean, we haven't even got on to that yet. It always coincides with Al's in the Park. So we're not going to have any players to roll out, and we're not going to have any kits to show off.
It's going to be Chancery doing the kit reveal, just like slowly rotating on the spot.
I don't know. God. I don't know if anybody else has sort of considered the fact that we were due this, because obviously there was a massive sort of hype and buzz around the third kit last year. And everybody at the time said, oh, it was going to be, a bit of a money spinner for the black kit, the blackout kit. Oh. And then we've got people that have lumped on for this new one, which I believe had the old owl, the sort of the 80s owl, and it was supposed to be white. And I had a vision looking at the little bits of the reveal that it was going to be the sort of the colour sort of images or the colour likeness to the one that Forestieri wore when he jumped into the end at Forest. That kit has been paid for by a significant number of people. So what are you going to do about that? Do you know what I mean? And I know we're sitting here and we're kind of laughing about it, because if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. However, there's going to be people that are rightly so pissed off because they've outlaid a significant amount of money. Let's say, for example, I'm not saying that this has happened. Charlie's ordered one. I know that there are a couple of others that are pre-ordered. But if you're a family of 4, so mum, dad, 2 kids, and you've decided that you're going to spend how much money on a kit, you've had no information on when that kit's going to be dropped. Yeah. You've had no information on how you're going to pick it up. You've got nothing in terms of what happens when you don't. And the problem is, if that kit doesn't arrive, and we are playing in last season's kit, which could potentially happen, I suspect, what do we do in terms of that money? Because there's going to have to be refunds.
I have tried to get a refund, and it's impossible.
What do they say to you? If you try and get a refund, what's the response?
I haven't got that far, to be fair, but trying to, like ordinarily you get like a receipt and you go through stuff. The receipt's just like, thank you for shopping at Sheffield Wednesday. Like there's no, I don't know. And a lot of people are saying like, like with season tickets as well. I know it's a little bit different with season tickets because there are like terms and conditions in terms of cancelling it only in like extreme circumstances. Apparently extreme circumstances does not include the impending implosion of your entire club, is apparently that doesn't count. But yeah, I was like, I feel stupid. I can't believe I bought a kit I've never even seen. This is so embarrassing. I want my money back. And I don't think I don't think we're going to get our money back. I really don't. I don't think we're going to
So
get
how does he
Kitty.
go? How do we go about that then? I would believe
He'll have spent that money because why else would
yeah.
he need it early? Why would he
Yeah.
need it that early?
Yes.
We were
Yeah.
hypothesizing. Oh well, it's because of like. Oh, it's because they say about the like Macron order and stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's him ordering it, not us, though, isn't it? Like I bought into that. Well, no, Joe, you don't understand. I need to buy it now because it's the Macron ordering system.
You absolutely said that in the group chat as well. You
I did.
went,
I was like, you've got to do it. You've got to order it now because they've got to book their slot on the factory of
Your husband's
shirt
never
making.
going to let you. Your husband's never going to let you order anything ever again.
Never again. Never again.
Never again.
My most recent purchase is not from the club shop, I'm just going to say. And if anyone's giving out any lifetime bans, I will take one. I'll send you my address, please.
Well,
That would be excellent.
You do say about your recent purchase, and on your, I think it was your Instagram story on Facebook, Charlie, you did buy something this weekend, and Dapon Chansiri's been on. He's been preparing myself for a kit reveal, but no shorts yet. So going to go full on Winnie the Pooh for my customers, and that's in for Charlie bought a nice little pot Winnie the Pooh at the weekend from their antiques fair. So
can we just chuck a disclaimer that may or may not be the actual Dapon Chansiri?
We're all like, it's a parody.
We
What
can
if it's
neither
not?
confirm nor deny.
Well, he's doubled
Fan
down.
of the show, Dapon Chansiri.
Don't start them rumours. Bloody hell. We've already been called Chansiri sympathisers this week. I mean, Jesus, I know. Atti's busy learning to draw the old badge. Hey, we all remember doing that, don't we?
Yeah.
And it takes some right effort as well, I'll tell you.
So Tuesday, yes, we saw the Football Heaven interview. Rob Staten carried out, and our friend of the show, Joe Cram, was on as well. But we're moving into Wednesday, and the biggest news of the day, and I think I personally saw it was the only choice, but we saw that the SWFCCP community programs Owls in the Park was cancelled. Just 10 days, so it should have been this Saturday, I believe it was it? Yes, this Saturday.
Yeah,
and it's been cancelled. The right decision, guys? Simon?
Well, it's got to be, hasn't it? I mean, it'd be, there's nobody to unveil. There's no kit to unveil. The feeling is, how can I say, a little bit angry against the owner. It was a no-no, wasn't it? And to be honest, again, I think that I feel sorry for the guys who work for the club because they're obviously in this program of what they need to do, and Owls in the Park has become a fundamental event every year for Sheffield Wednesday. And when we missed it, I think we missed it a couple of times through COVID and probably a year after that. And a lot of people missed it. I've been once. It's not my cup of tea, but anyway. But to advertise it like they did, some amount of normality in this shit show. I don't know how many times we're going to say that today. But no surprise at all when they did cancel it, mate. No surprise at all because we've got a manager. Have we got a manager? Do we have a manager? I mean, we've got a manager who's basically farming himself out to every single club out there that might have a vacancy, and then we've got a chairman who basically has put his phone on do not disturb, and yeah, we haven't got any players. We haven't got a football kit. It's going well, really, isn't it? We can go on the waltzers, I suppose.
I've just had this mental image. Sorry, this is so irrelevant. But like on is it Take Me Out when it like comes down the thing and then it's like Danny Roll comes out and then it's like all the different clubs and they all turn their lights off at the same time. That's basically what's happened, isn't it? Like he's basically been like, single man, reveal yourself, and he's gone, and everyone's gone, nah. And now what? Now he's that was going to be our biggest problem of the summer. Like that was what we were all dreading. Oh my God, isn't it going to be so terrible? He's going to leave immediately, and then what? And that was going to be our big issue. Imagine if that was your only problem. Oh my God.
That's the least of our problems, isn't it? That Danny's leaving.
Stevie, obviously your daughters are a bit younger than mine and Simon's son, so obviously they'd be well up for Owls in the Park, big family thing. And we know Molly likes a Sheffield Wednesday. It's a bit of a shame, isn't it? But it's understandable.
It is a shame. The one thing I'd say controversially is that I'd have hoped that had it gone ahead, and I know that people have talked about it not being the right place for protest, and they've talked about safety concerns. I would have liked to have thought that if it had gone ahead, people would have thought about the fact that there are young kids going to be there. There's going to be people that are taking families. There's going to be opportunities for people to get together and network and, be part of something that is still part of the club. I totally understand why it's gone. I totally get it, because there'd have been conversations about peaceful protests. There'd have been conversations about what to wear, what to do when you're there, where to spend your money, how to interact with each other and so forth. So I get it. It's just a crying shame that it's come to this, really, isn't it? Because, yeah, you're absolutely right. Ironically, as it happens, Molly's got a basketball game this weekend, so she wouldn't have been able to go because it was due this Saturday, weren't it? So she wouldn't have been able to make it because she's flirting with the WNBA going forwards. But yeah, I'm sad that it's not happening. It's another one of those things that you'd want to be a sort of a legacy, a sort of a mainstay in terms of the things that we're doing. It's just a shame that it's not happened.
Yeah, it's not just, and I don't think anyone forgets it, but it's not just the fans. There's a lot of charity things, their stalls that raise money. They use that to raise money. I know Soda, the supporters group for disabled, that's their main fundraising thing. So they have a stall there and they do the bits and pieces, and that's one of them. So that is a real shame for that side of things. But then with the stuff that's been happening with the wages and all the, are there going to be protests or not? And I think that's where the club might have given themselves an out to say about that, and they've said about a poor excuse to say about the safety, and they were worried that there might any. I don't think anyone. I mean, a lot of people take what the trust are saying and back what they're doing, and if the trust had, I don't think they even said anything about doing any sort of arranged protest. So I don't personally think there would have been any. But it's just.
Did they not say they were going to do something outside the training ground? They planned on doing something up at Middlewood Road as a kind of a peaceful alternative. I think the other thing to sort of recognise as well is it's not actually, and I'll stand corrected, and Ash, you could probably give me a little bit more on this. It's not actually Sheffield Wednesday FC, is it? It's the Sheffield Wednesday Community Programme that run it. So, whilst it's an arm of the club, the community programme is the ones that would have been overseeing it and would have been responsible. It is
a community thing, but I do think, and obviously I'm not in the know of it, I think the club do pay the wages and the security, and sort all that out as probably a donation or a covering of the cost. But yeah, it's not to raise funds for anything for Sheffield Wednesday base, because I mean, bloody hell, if you imagine if you'd gone with that and found out, then it'd be uproar, wouldn't there? But no, it is a community thing, so it's a shame about that. Also, Wednesday, the 18th of June, it's confirmed that Sheffield Wednesday have been placed under a 3-window transfer restriction following the official confirmation from the EFL. The club is unable to pay any transfer fees or loan fees until January 2027. As if stuff can't get any worse, though, can it? I mean, we've historically struggled in transfer windows, especially in January. But to get a where you can't sign anyone, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth.
Is that can't sign anyone for a fee, or can't sign anyone full stop? Can we still get frees in and
get frees?
Get frees.
Yeah.
Frees, and then I believe came out of it. Sorry, Stevie. Believe came out of it. I think maybe was it a day later or the same time was this $7,000 a week.
The wage,
a cap on $7,000 a week wage. Yeah.
But once
you've also.
Sorry, Steve. Go on.
Sorry, mate. I thought you'd done. You also can't pay fees for loans.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
Shay Charles
would have. Yeah. So that sort of ilk. So you can look at it in two ways. Our history of spending money recently hasn't been the greatest, has it?
No.
And without mentioning players, we can all think of 2 or 3 that we spent a bit of money on that haven't necessarily come to fruition for us. And I'd argue that there's potentially a better history when it comes to paying or signing players for no money. So
True.
I actually sat there and thought, you know what? It's not the worst thing. And I know people are going to ridicule me and say it's ridiculous. But if we have a decent recruitment, you know, I'm not saying for 3 windows, and you're going to feel the pinch, and you're going to have to do you're going to have to be very smart in terms of what you're doing. But we can still build a squad that would be competitive. And I'll say this again with my tin hat on: be competitive if we got to that point for keeping us in the championship if everything came to pass. The problem is we're now 7 weeks away from the start of the season. No management structure, no wages paid. We're at risk of losing players. You know, so with every day that we get closer and closer to that point, we're making it harder and harder for ourselves.
It's a drop in the
that's
ocean
worry,
as
isn't it?
well. It's almost like it's a bit like, tip of the friggin' iceberg with everything else. And also, who the hell's going to want to come to the club, free or otherwise, at the moment?
As it stands at the moment, yeah, exactly.
I think I weirdly agree with Stevie in that while it's obviously not great and no one would go whoopee about it, I do think it's better than a points deduction, I guess. Although that's probably around the corner. But it's we have had some really good players who've cost us note in a way. The bigger issue is probably more the wage thing, because I don't know, how does that affect players you currently have under contract? Like,
I think
for
when they
example, he's not on $7,000 a week. Just as an example.
So when they put the article out, and I'll just scroll my notes, my understanding is that when they talked about it, they were saying that it's still quite uncertain in terms of what's happening. There you go. I've just found it now. So the hits keep coming as it was reported that as a condition of the embargo, wages are capped or set to be capped at £7,000 per week on new signings or free agents. There you go. New signings and free agents. Terms around offers to players who are already contracted remain unclear. So my understanding is that if we've offered a player who is under contract more, that still stands.
Okay. That's probably good.
And as Owen's been on and has just said, the £7,000 a week cap is for the embargo, not the window restriction, and will get removed when we've paid everyone. So yeah, that backs
But
it
as it stands, if we sign anybody, we're going to be training in the park, and Doris, the tea lady, is going to be taking training because we have training grounds not completed, and we haven't got any coaching staff. So.
I did see something a few hours ago when I was doom scrolling, because that's my favourite pastime now. You know, doom scrolling on X is that someone did say, and is that if we miss another payment, 2 months on the trot, then those players can put their 15-day notice in to be released from their contract. Right. Mm-hmm. So we know some players have been paid. So what if Chansiri thinks, I'm going to pay the players that haven't paid in May, I'm going to pay June to not pay the players that had May. So it's not 2 months continuous for one player. It's half the squad in May, half the squad in June. And he can get around it like that. I mean,
I would not be surprised.
No, you won't put anything past. But yeah, I thought it was it's a bit crazy, but it's a good way of looking at it.
Did the EFL not also change their reporting of these embargoes specifically for us? Because I believe, when we had Joe on a couple of weeks ago, he was saying that the EFL don't actually, they say we're under an embargo, and you can see that online. We can all see that. But then it doesn't go into the actual specifics of the embargo and like we've just found out. And I think the EFL have actually changed the way they report these that now make it public. So obviously the EFL are looking at us as, I know I hate to use this word, but we discussed this a few weeks ago, as a test case. God almighty. Sheffield Wednesday test case. We don't like doing stuff, don't we?
Basket case. I don't know about test
case.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So they EFL have specifically changed their rules to actually publish this information because of us.
Oh, massive! Way! You'll never sing that.
Something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Right, we've bored you enough for 40 minutes. I've got to do this, or the boss will have a go at us for not putting in. So some people are going to try and sell you something, or make you gamble on Sheffield Wednesday being relegated next season. I don't know, but We'll be back real soon.
Hold tight, kids, it's advert time. Hold tight, kids, it's advert time.
And welcome back to the Wednesday week. Yes, we're still here, trawling through the last 7 days' events. So Thursday, 19th of June. Not a great deal happened. It was quite quiet on the SWFC hashtag Thursday and Friday. But then Saturday come around, and I think there was an article from the start around the North Stand. So seen it, we talked about it last week on the show as well. But obviously, when it gets in the Star, you know that it's kosher, because them lads, they have to journalistic integrity. They have to check things out. Not like us, who can just say like Simon, he makes shit up on the spot. So they've said the North Stand requires work to be completed to meet the SAG standards ahead of the new season. In article, it confirms that the images which were doing the rounds, which we did tweet out as well, I think Dan put them on our X account, were taken 2 to 3 years ago and appeared in old reports. The latest report highlighted the need for remedial work and discussions were on how this might be done. A second opinion report is understood to have also been submitted. I mean, come on! Every year, we had a car analogy earlier, but it's the same into every year. You have your MOT, you do a little bit of work. There's a bit of rust, you get it ground out, filled, or whatever you do. You don't just let it keep going and going and going till it gets to this point. Surely, Charlie, you don't sit on the north, do you? When you go, you slum it with us in the cop, don't you?
Slum it in the cop, which I'm sure is in fine nick. I'm sure the rest of the stadium's fine. There's definitely just the one stand. Yeah, I think it all just comes down to this kind of running out of funds kind of feel, because it's like the car analogy is very apt, because I need my car to get to work. So if I have a problem in my house and I only have money to pay for one of two things, I'm going to have to prioritize the most immediate thing, even if I really need to sort out the leaky pipe in the bathroom or whatever. Like, it's like, well, no, but I'm going to have to spend on the car. So the whole recent last couple of years of just general lack of money being pushed everywhere, it's like he's had to just keep paying people and not do the other things and what have you. And obviously now we've got to the point where he's not even doing that. You know, the pot really has run dry. My big concern is, like, presumably it's one of those things that the longer I'm not a builder, but like the longer you don't do building work, the bigger job it is, I guess. Like, I know it's an old stadium, I know it's kind of fallen to bits, but there are lots of old stadiums that with a little bit of, you know, TLC are probably fine. Who knows how big a job it is now compared to like 5 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever, like when maybe it would have been significantly less. It's a concern. Luckily, no one is going to want to go to the football anyway, so there'll be nobody to stand on it. So it's all fine. We'll all just fit in the cop, I reckon, by the amount of people who've not renewed their season tickets.
Can't he just have all the work done and then send it to the people that own it, like Sheffield 6 or Sheffield 2?
Yeah.
Can you send the bill to them? Yeah, why aren't they doing it?
Why aren't they putting hand in the pocket?
Simon, you don't need to worry about this sort of stuff sat up in the prawn sandwiches. But it's not good though, is it? For a club to, obviously, if these photos were taken 3 years ago, at max 3 years ago, to have this work that needed to be done every year. And like Stevie said, we've got 7 weeks to start the season. We've been off 6 or 7 weeks now, is it? There's plenty of time to get work like this done.
The stadium, as Charlie alluded to, is old in parts. The stand was built for the 1966 World Cup, so it's inherently in its design is concrete and steel. So water gets in and steel rusts. So there should be preventative maintenance plan put in place for that stand every year. Like you say, if you run an old car, then you're going to have to do work on it every year to keep it running. And it is a fundamental part of the fact that we need that stand open for people to buy tickets in to season tickets, which they bought months ago. and for them to sit in it, So the whole ground has had lack of investment for years now, pre-Chancery and after Chancery, and we've spoken about this hundreds of times, that we chased, again, we did it in the 90s. We chased that, getting into Europe, playing in the Premier League. We paid absurd amounts of money for players at absurd wages. And Chancery did it again, didn't they? The players that we signed, and millions and millions of pounds, both buying them and also paying them, and invested nothing in the academy, nothing in the training grounds, nothing, very little in the actual stadium itself. We put a scoreboard up and we invested in a pitch to start off with, and then didn't invest it in again. And now we've had to just relay it all because it had gone to shit. So from start to finish, it's just been badly managed. Sounds familiar to everything that happens at Sheffield Wednesday, really, doesn't it? The stadium is just part of it. Just one other thing of the reason why I now think we're actually pulling the sheet up over the corpse, and we're probably just up to the knees at the moment.
Sorry, but I'm just getting a drink. Sorry about that. My good wife just brought me a drink, so I didn't prep and get one ready for me, so apologies about that. Yeah, Stevie, the stand, I mean, it's money that he hasn't obviously got, and he hasn't had for a while. We've said about it. We've gone on about it. It's just bad management. Again, one other thing that you can tick off on the list of bad management of the football club from Mr. Chancery.
Yeah, you're right. And if you want to believe, and we're loath to go down the ITK route, there are people that we've spoken to personally, not and socially, that have been talking about this for 2-3 years now. I can remember being at Shrewsbury. I'm not going to mention the person's name. They are in our LMS chat. We were stood outside Shrewsbury when we were waiting to get into the playoffs in the pink kit, and they went, that North Stand, it's a problem. And that is going back, 3 years now, nearly. So we've known it's coming. But my sort of concern and issue around it has been, we've known that we've got these issues, and we know that they need rectifying, and we know that we need to look at it. So what are we going to do about it? And as great as certain players have been, and as much money as we've spent in transfer fees and other things and getting things in, we've deprioritised the North Stand in this instance, and we've spent, and I'll say because it's the first thing that came into my head, £2 to £3 million on a striker who scored no goals last season. And that's no shade on the player. And it's not me saying that we should have spent it in that way. But what I'm saying is, holistically, from a businessman who knows how to run a business properly, they would have every contingency thought of and every sort of eventuality considered before they decide that they're going to go and spend money on a player, or before they go and spend money over there when it needs to be spent over here. So, for me, it just makes me think, what else has happened along the way for us to suddenly be chasing? Because we know about the stadium, we know that there are issues there, but we don't know about these businesses that are, that have been set up by him to sort of, money's going in there, it's coming out of there. Is there money going in there? What's going on? Where's D-taxis? What's this energy drink? What's going on? All of these things are starting to amount, and you're kind of going, and it's just all unraveling, isn't it? And it's not anything that we didn't know, but now with hindsight, you're kind of sitting there, and the Naked Gun gif where we're all slapping ourselves in the face, going, and it's just a mess. And if I wasn't a Wednesday eye, I'd feel sorry for us, because we're in as a fan base, we're in an absolute state because of the mismanagement of a person who, like I said earlier on, probably had the best intentions at heart, but has been so poorly advised and has been such a poor businessman. We now got to a point where he's gone, I'm out of money, I can't afford to sell the club. What do I do next?
Yeah.
Is that where do you think that some people, like our host on this show's misgivings are about Adam Shaw and his consortium that I saw someone mention in the chat earlier? I quite like that consortium. Good, because of what's happening now and what that they are a bit. Anyone that's going to come in, and it's not just Shaw. I'm sure. If it was, if it was anybody, Dan would have probably gone off the same. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just the fact that we don't know. And I did a couple of hours on Thailand Company's House type of website a couple of days ago, and I could not find one company or any. I could find some of the Chansiri family. There was his brother, and obviously the Thai Union Group is now, I think it's run by his brother as well, or partly his brother. But no company I could find on all the ones that listed about everything was Dayfon Chansiri on there. So this money that he's supposedly in real estate or construction or anything like that money is just not there. So when people delve in, like you said, about D-taxes and Elevate and all these things, people will look into it. And there's some there's a lot of people on X that are really going at trying to find journalistic looking stuff. That's where people want to do, isn't it?
The problem is we're getting to that witching hour, aren't we? Because we have to start doing something for next season across the whole board. If somebody comes in and buys us, they've got to, for a start, rip all the seats out in the North Stand. Not only fixing it, but take all the seats that say Chansiri out. Take all the banners off that say Chansiri on it. They've got to get hold of the shirt manufacturer and probably take Chansiri off the front. There's huge amounts of work. And then on top of that, they've got to establish a management team, keep the management team we've got or bring in new. We've got to tie players down. We've got to find out what the heck's happening with the North Stand. Are there other issues in that ground that require, the away end, which is obviously a much maligned stand? The newest stand that we've got is the one actually I sit in, which was built for Euro 96. So that is, and it's sat on top of a stand that fundamentally was moved from Olive Grove years and years and years ago. So when you actually, where you sit, Steve, it's antiquated down there compared to the grandstand above, isn't it? When you go through the turnstiles and up the stairs and stuff like that, it's a Victorian ground. There must be colossal areas and parts of that stadium that need huge amounts of investment. But like Steve knocked it bang on the head. What we should have is a preventive maintenance plan. And what it should have done is gone, right, we need to invest £2 million in this stadium or else it's going to fall down around our ears. Or we sign a striker. It's short-term game, and that's been Chansiri's motto all the way through, rather than actually planning for the future. And if there's any sort of testament to how a club should be run, and I hate seeing this because we've had a few comments from, I think it's Chris Wilder's burner account earlier on, Blaze fans commenting, but at the end of the day, look at the investment that they've done in their ground, or the investment they've done in their training ground. They just bought a new training ground, and it's horrible to have to quote that, but if there's ever a club that's doing something right locally and investing the money that they've got in, is them. We haven't. We've just spaffed it on Alban Abdi and Jordan Rose.
Investing in the stadium doesn't count towards is it profit and sustainability either, or PSR and all that sort of stuff. So there is no excuse not to do that. But he just hasn't. So and I am sure that there's stuff going on. It could cost a couple of grand to patch it up. It could cost $6 million. I do not know. You just don't, and he hasn't got that couple of grand. So
I think what would be interesting as well is, like when Chansiri first came in, and a lot of the money, other than the scoreboard, as we have, of course, obviously mentioned, he did do that. That is true. You've got to give him that. That is one thing. But a lot of the money that seemed to be getting splashed was on players. If someone bought us and was like, listen, this is going to take a lot of little bits of stuff here and there to get you guys back on track. So we're actually not going to, be spending loads of money on players. We're not necessarily going to see that investment in the squad in the same way. What we are going to look at doing is all the other stuff that he's doing. I would be okay with that. Like that would be okay. Even if it meant that we didn't necessarily field as competitive a squad, even if it meant a relegation. If I knew someone was looking at the crumbling walls around us and stuff actually falling apart, and the training facilities, the academy. If I thought someone was starting to invest from the ground up and worrying about the other stuff after, what would really worry me more is if someone came in and was kind of like, yeah, I've got loads of money, who we buying, that kind of thing, like it's Football Manager. Like you want to see that someone fully understands the whole thing, because I think that's where Chansiri has never fully got it. He's certainly never understood how fans factor in, like at all, outside of being customers. He's never understood that. He's never grasped the wider kind of concept of football club. You can see that in the fact that it's so, pyramidy. It's just him at the top and then everybody else. There's not that director of football and all those other kind of things. Anyone that would come in and happily start to say, I'm going to spend the money first on the North Stand, this, that, and the other, that would reassure me far more than somebody who was just turning up with a big wallet and like, we'll spend whatever you want, kind of thing. To flash.
That's where it's coming. That's our future, Charlie. That's what we've got coming now. How we're going to get to that bounce point, and then somebody, whatever stage it is, whether that be an investor that comes in and pays the money that Chansiri wants, whether Chansiri has a change of heart and sells for a fair market price, or whether the administration happens, what will happen is we will lose a lot of assets potentially. And they will go, right, here's where we're going to start. We're going to start with the development to make sure that we can make the infrastructure of the ground, as compliant, so that we can get the people that have paid the money for the season tickets in the North Stand. And we're running out of time to do it, but we can get that sorted so that those people that have paid X amount of tens of thousands of pounds can sit where they're expected to sit. And you can talk about the money of it with that one. Bless her heart. I'll always remember Vic. When she was on, would talk a lot about the fact that she'd sat in the same seat and her mum and dad had sat in the same seat for 30 odd years. It's a big deal. There are people that have sat on that North. Simon referenced 66 when the North was open. There will be people on the North Stand that have had their seats, like it says on the front of the cop, for years. And we're talking 30, 40, 45, 50 years, people have sat in the same seats. And if you get to a point where you can't sit in those seats now, from that situation where we're talking about it being a sort of a financial or a fiscal one, where you've got to talk about the emotion. Why do we all look? Why do we do what we do? Why do we go and watch the club? We don't want to go and spend all that money. We don't go to see us spending all the transfer money and everything else and be competitive in that way. First and foremost, fundamentally, we are Sheffield Wednesday fans, and because we're all, we're ingrained in it, and because we're such a unique club, and I genuinely believe we're a club like no other, because we take the rough with the smooth. We'll have more downs and ups, but we'll always come back fighting, because let's be right, we are, and I'll say it, probably the biggest sleeping giant that's not been in the Premier League since the Premiership. You go back years and years. People talk about, it's a quick fix in terms of moving people from the north into Leppings Lane Upper, because that's a great view. The problem that you've got with that is that there's no kiosks, there's no retail, there's no alcohol in the west. So if you're person X that wants to go and have a beer on the north before you go and watch your football team, you can't go and do that on Leppings Lane. Take everything away from it. It can't happen. No. Then all right, so let's go on the south, or let's go in the grandstand. So what are you saying? You want somebody to come and sit in my seat? Exactly. Well, I sit there and I paid the money. Yeah. And all right, we'll sit you next to you. So if I paid X amount of money for my season ticket with my daughter, my sister, and my best mate, and then I've got somebody who's paid £200 less, but they're going to come and sit next to me, how's that right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a huge hornet's nest.
Huge,
isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's the starting point, to have a look at fixing those issues in terms of the ground. Then you've got to sort out the kit to make sure that these people that have done, we've got a kit to play in, but those people that have done the outlay in terms of getting that third kit, you've got to satisfy them because they paid the money. So these are all the priorities that we've got before we even start thinking about, and I'll say it, before we start thinking about signing players, you've got to do all of that. But from a fit and proper point of view, you've also got to pay the players that haven't been paid. You've got to pay the staff that haven't been paid. You've got to make sure you're meeting their demands. And then you've got to go cap in hand to Bannon, Palmer, Pato, whoever it is, and say, look, please stay with us. We'll get it sorted. We want a football club next year. This is how it's going to work. And then once you've done all of that, you can start worrying about the players. Or signing, should I say. Do
you think the weird radio silence and the kind of like, there's been a couple of players putting like little tweets out, little couple of bits and bobs, but mostly nothing. do you think something is going on that is satisfying the players in some way? Because I know it's not quite got to the point where they could walk. I don't know. It almost just feels like, I don't know how to kind of describe it, that there's some reassurance there in the background that things are happening. I don't know. I want to kind of believe that the lack of dialogue means that something's happening. No.
No.
No,
I
okay.
think I don't think it's that deep. I think the bottom line is
Sorry, go on, Steve. Sorry.
I think the bottom line is you've got people like Palmer and Bannon that have been here and they are ingrained and they're part of the club and they want to stay. They want the best for the club. They bleed blue and white. And then you've got other players that are a level down that would like to stay at the club if they can get it sorted for family reasons, etc., etc., etc. And then you've got people that are just looking for another payday. And that's no disrespect to any players.
No, you're right.
You know, there will be on the 30th of June, there will be 7, 8, 9 players and 7, 8, 9 players that we would really that have an affinity for that will go, I'm not bothered, I'm walking.
Yeah.
If you're young, and without mentioning names, if you're 19, 20, 21 years old, you're getting paid a relative pittance, you've got, you know, no family ties to the area, and you've got a massive sort of upturn in terms of potential career trajectory, then the right thing to do for you is to leave, and we have to accept that. If you're wrong side of 30, you've got 3 kids, you've got a house and a mortgage, your kids are in school, then it's a different story, isn't it?
I think there's also an amount of not quite as bad, but a lot of the older players or the players who've been there a long time this isn't the first time this has happened. You know, they've almost got to that position where they've gone, you know what, this has happened quite a few times before where we're not being paid, and it's almost like that same shit, just a different month. So, but I do think the difference here is, from what I'm gathering, is that Chansiri is not talking to anybody within the club. The people within the club, Alistair, Braithwaite, everybody has not heard a dicky bird from him. It is literally radio silence from Thailand. You know, and this is the worrying thing, but also is it a point of that he's had enough and he's going to get rid of us? That's what I'm
like. I just feel this should be more, I don't know, scrabbling. You know, like whenever he's normally cross, he loves putting statements out. Do you remember the season we had loads of statements, endless statements, and general, like the club was always putting things out like, ha ha ha, look what's going on over here. Anyway, happy birthday, this guy or whatever. And it's like we've not even had, every now and then they cancel a Carabao thing that they've obviously set up, and Owls in the Park is cancelled. There's just something unnervingly quiet that just makes me think. I'm not necessarily saying it means that there's fantastic things happening in the background, but he must have checked out. He financially, emotionally, like which means what? I don't know.
We've not had Sorry. So I was going to say was we've not had the tantrums, have we, Charlie? We've not had the tantrums.
It's owed. You know, like it all used to be about it's owed to me. I'm really sorry, it's owed to me. And then actually, I'm not sorry at all. And you should all have a whip round. And maybe I won't even pay HMRC. Then you'll play in grassroots league and blah 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 blah. Like we've not had that weird kind of posturing. I'm going to cover for my mistakes by acting like I know everything and da 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 da. We've had nothing. We've had the official statement. Well, it wasn't even a statement, was it? But the club sort of going, we acknowledge this.
The EFL charges, yeah.
But we've not had. We've like of all the times to not have a statement from him, you would think. I don't know.
I saw a tweet from Owen who's been on, and I think he put it out a few days ago that the official Sheffield Wednesday Twitter handle posted 4 tweets in the whole of June.
Yeah, that sounds about
and 3 Carabao raspberry flavoured things were all deleted as well.
Immediately deleted, yeah.
So 4, it's just ridiculous. So it's not just, which with people's weight, I don't know how that works, but obviously if you're not getting paid and you are the man or woman that does the X and all that, why would you? So there's all that, but the official channels, there's been nothing. So we don't know. It could all change, couldn't it? Could all change. So Sunday was Sheffield Wednesday free. we had nothing going on, nothing released that we've got here noteworthy wise. The only thing was, I think, was it Sunday? Or it may have been Saturday that Joey Pooty, a bit of transfer news, has signed for National League South outfit Eastbourne Borough. So all that massive good promise that he's shown, and he even got a man of the match vote from you guys on our man of the match tweets. He's moved on and he's found. No doubt he'll come back. I'm sure that's not his level because he did look above that level, but things happen, don't they, for whatever reason? And obviously Windass affected him maybe because he was the player that he called out on that podcast, weren't he? So then we move on to today. So today, reports that players are due back in training this Thursday, but apparently we've talked about it that Millwall Road's not going to be ready for the pre-season start. But then I think Joe Cran reported it. He says it's not attributed to financial issues currently being experienced by the club. Rather, the scale of the job is bigger than first anticipated.
That's worse. That's somehow worse.
Ain't that the truth? So,
which links into the fact that there's been no investment over the years. Yeah. It's that lack of planning. It's ridiculous.
They probably tapped on something and it just all crumbled like Rivitas, and they were like looking up as it all just went. Dunk, 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 dunk.
It's like one of these barn finds where they get this fine. This person's died, and they open the garage, and inside is a 1977 Mark I Ford Escort, and they've opened the door, and the doors fall off it, and it's like, oh God, all this investment we need to put it back on the road.
It's
oh God.
Ron Punchman's asbestos AstroTurf. Well,
is that our new sponsor?
I don't think it'll fit on the shirt. It'll have to have AA on it, won't it? And
then breaking news that's come out in the last hour, I think, while we've been on, because it's happening quite regular there now. An article from, I think it's from Joe or Alex at the Star, that billionaire businessman John Textor is considering a move to buy Sheffield Wednesday. So if you've seen the news today that John Textor, who had a 40% stake in Crystal Palace, has sold it for 190 million. So he can still not afford to buy Sheffield Wednesday then with 190 million, if you believe Dave Pond. So 190 million in his back pocket. He wants to invest it wisely in a Yorkshire club. But then in the article does say that Sheffield Wednesday aren't the only club he's looking at. So I think over the last week we've seen Gareth Bale look at Plymouth and Cardiff, and then Turkey Al Sheikh, if anyone's into the boxing, the Saudi royal family, he's interested in Bristol City, I think he was yesterday that he came out with. So there is rich people, idiots like Charlie said earlier, who are a bit wrong, that have got plenty of money. So same again. Sorry, I'm going on and I'll come to your thoughts, but same again. There has been people in our LMS chat, people online have gone, you don't want John Textor. Look what he's done at his other clubs, because he's a part of a multi-club, one of these Botafogo he's got, Leon, I believe. Obviously, he did have Palace, but there's all sorts of things wrong. So people are going to look into potential investors and buyers. And it's not just because it's Adam Shaw. They'll look into John Textor as well. So initial thoughts, I know it's quite breaking. So, but sorry, Ben's just put on. Botafogo fans like him. Leon fans hate him. Well, Chansiri fans Wednesday fans just hate Chansiri. Mm-hmm. So, Stevie, what's your first thoughts on that? I know you probably don't know nothing about him. He wears a Stetson, I believe, as well. So he's a cool character. Imagine that. Get them sold in shop.
He can wear stilettos for me if he's going to chuck £190 million into a club. I'm not bothered at all. From my point of view, and I with the greatest respect, it's a much more exciting proposition. And I mean this with all due respect and no shade. It's a much more exciting proposition than the US consortium that's being talked about. Because if you look into the US consortium, you can do all your research and look at where everything sits and what's going on. And there's not necessarily a great deal of history in terms of football ownership, and there's not necessarily a great deal of history in terms of seeing how much money that organisation, that consortium have, where we know that this man has just sold the club for 190 million, and I could do a Google search in the next 15 minutes and say, this money's come from there, this money's come from there, we know that he's got this money here, he's had a history of owning Botafogo, he's liked or disliked, he's done this with Leon, all right. In terms of an exit strategy from getting the current chairman out of the club who's not investing in the right way to where we are now with potentially having this guy coming in, it's an absolute no-brainer, isn't it? The problem that you've got is he's a businessman who's just sold the club for 190 million. So if he's just sold the club for 190 million, he's going to be switched on, and he's going to take one look at Sheffield Wednesday and he's going to go, right, so I could spend £100 million here, or I could go down the road at Club X that I'm also interested at the Championship, and I could spend £40 million there, or 50 or 60 or 70 million pounds there. I'd need to then, once I've spent my 100 million, I'm going to need to do all the improvements on the ground. I'm going to need to look at the infrastructure. I'm going to need to do X, Y, and Z. Or in this relatively new stadium over here, I could spend a quarter of what I'm going to spend on Sheffield Wednesday and increase my investment much more quickly. So I take it with a pinch of salt. I cross everything that I've got in terms of fingers and toes and hope that, it's something that he would potentially be interested in. And I'd hope that there's somebody out there that would be able to appeal to his better nature. And if that's a Simon Jordan, or if it's another person who knows somebody who can have a conversation with him about the potential that you have at Sheffield Wednesday, that's what you want. However, initial concerns better than what's been offered so far, but at the same time, is he going to look at something that's better than us?
There's P. Wednesday, unfortunate surname there, mate. Prefer a consortium to some standalone person. More eyes and input, the better. But then after listening to your little thing, he goes, but good history helps, true. Yeah. J Blogs, that said beggars can't be choosers, because he says, I always worry about one person buying and one spitting and all that. Yeah. Gary Fox,
I'll upset Ben as well, answer.
Yeah, I was going to come to that. Good long-term investment, get it right with us, then the sky's the limit. Mad Ward, it's about history, stature, and potential. We've got bags of it. And Ben's been on, and he says, cheers for the optimism.
Boo.
Love you, Ben.
Stu says that we're going to get plenty of tie kickers, but nobody of sound mind would buy us for the price Chansiri reportedly wants. Yeah, and there we go. Yeah, so that's it. That's the week that is Wednesday, the Wednesday week, shall we call it? And someone did put in one of the first comments, I didn't put it up, was the Craig David Wednesday week, the 7 days. Quite like that. I love that. Right, we do have a little bit of maybe positive stuff to just finish on with. This Thursday is the EFL fixture release date. If we have a club, we will be in the hat there for our fixtures. We'll do more on this, obviously, next week when we get them and everything. But have you had to think about who you'd like to draw? I know we'd like to draw anyone on the first day, because that means we have a team and we have a club. But Charlie, who are you looking forward to out of the league at the minute? And what would you, first game, last game, Christmas game? What stands out to you? Please don't say Sheffield United.
Oh God, no. Who's come up? Remind me.
Wrexham.
Birmingham.
Leighton.
Wrexham.
Who else?
Is that
Charlton.
controversial?
Charlton.
For the first game of the season? I don't know why. I just think, I don't know.
Friday night at Wrexham away.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just, there's something weirdly, I know they're a bit of a sort of a not controversial team, but the way that they have advanced puts a lot of people out, and I get that a little bit. But I'm kind of fascinated by them. I'm fascinated by what it will mean to have them in the Championship. So I'm sort of intrigued. Plus, you never know, we might see the guy from Always Sunny at Hillsborough. That would be weird. He'd be like, oh, that's weird. Like, I don't know, the guys from Disney Plus. Yeah, this is
What,
just
Mickey? Mickey and
interesting.
his mates?
Yeah,
We've got Mickey Mouse already in the boardroom.
that's true. And do you know what I'd love if we do still have a club? I want Boxing Day at home because it's my birthday and we ain't had Boxing Day at home for, I reckon, this might be our 10th year, 9th, 10th year that we haven't. And I love going to the match on my birthday. So, yeah, I want that. I don't care who it is, just as long as it's not United. It wouldn't be United anyway. They wouldn't put us against United on Boxing Day, but yeah, somebody easy.
I've never
They have before.
True. Famously.
Yeah, famously. Simon, any standout? What you think your first game? I
want us to be home first game. For a change, I'm not actually on holiday this summer, so I will actually get to see Wednesday at the start of the season.
Not going away, Si?
Not going away.
What's
Not going away. No holidays booked. Sorry about that, guys.
I missed the first game.
So that's the first time in about 4 years. So I want it to be a home game, nice sunny day. Who's going to bring a lot on that first day? Obviously, I don't want the United. I don't know. You know what? Out of them, I'm really not interested. I just want to be able to sit in my seat and see 11 players in front of me.
Come on, man. Not interested. You're on the wrong podcast if you're not interested, mate.
I'm not. We have to play who's in front of us. I just hope it's in the Championship.
I wanted a little bit of positivity to end with. Come on, just give me a team, please.
Just give me it. Well, I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to away game because we had a really good day there was Portsmouth away. But
Portsmouth away, first game, Friday night.
Not on a Friday night, Saturday. So we can stay like we did last time and end up for a curry and this, that, and the other. That was a really good day. One of my favourite away days. Or Charlton away was a really good away day as well. Any of the London clubs. Quite looking forward to Wrexham just because of the sort of this steamrolling bandwagon. The least one I want on the first day is Birmingham. Oh, God, they're going to be insufferable this season, aren't they, Birmingham?
Yeah.
And Ipswich probably as well. I think, actually, first game of the season, Leicester at home. I think they're a bit of a wounded tiger, so to speak. If, they could be, home against Dan Roll's Leicester City.
He knows where to park. Easy one.
Stevie, what about your games?
First one, home to Wrexham. Definitely. I've got no disregard or dislike for Wrexham at all. They're doing absolutely everything that we want to do here. So what's the point in moaning about it? I'd say the same with Birmingham. Good luck to them. If somebody said that we get a Ryan Reynolds and a Rob McElhenney coming into us and doing what they're doing over there, fair play. And anybody that tells me that they don't want that is lying. Birmingham the same. They're doing the American Investment Consortium model. They had a plan to go down and then rebuild an infrastructure and come back up. They've done what I would hope that we would do if the shit hits the fan when it comes to Sheffield Wednesday, to be honest with you. So I've got no dislike or disdain towards either one of them clubs. I just think Wrexham, because of the ownership, probably have more eyes on them. And I'd rather it be at home than away because they are going to be the team that Sky are going to be visiting on the first game of the season, aren't they? So if we can pack Hillsborough with 13,000 because we can't open the North Stand, let's get as many people into the Old Girl as we possibly can, in safe circumstances, and let's see if we can get a little bit of revenue into the club because God knows we need it. Boxing Day, I'd quite like to be at home. Please, that'd be nice. Or New Year, be at home. I'm not overly fussed about who we play. And then last game of the season, I'll say it for sort of shits and giggles. Imagine us having to beat United away on the last game of the season to stay up.
Oh God!
Oh my God!
Actually doing it, it would be one of those miracle of Hillsborough.
Yeah, and if they beat us and sent us down, we'd never at the end of it.
That'd be like
game over.
That'd be like a Yorkshire version of Saw, that would be, wouldn't it?
I'm a romanticist, and I'd love for us to be the victors at the end of it. I don't want to play them and then lose, obviously, but I'm thinking of a romantic sort of situation where that's something that plays out at the end of the season. Favorite away game, QPR in the sun. For similar reasons to you guys in Portsmouth. I've got nothing but fond memories of QPR. Been down the last couple of years. Really bizarre little quaint ground, really swanky sort of area to go and have a few beers in. We spent some money down there. Last time we were down there, I think I bought a round of 4 beers and spent 60 odd quid. So yeah.
I'm going to go with first game. I would take Friday night at home for the first game, and I would probably say I'd probably agree with you. I think I'd like Wrexham. I think it would just be a shame if it was the North Stand was closed and it wasn't the first game Friday night at 30,000, and it's a good introduction to them to proper league football, I suppose, for the first years for a while for them guys at Wrexham. So I'd take that. Boxing Day always away, so all 3 of you are wrong. Boxing Day football is away.
I'm a birthday girl. How dare you?
Don't care. Boxing Day away is how it should be. The Premier League have got no games, have they, on Boxing Day? They're all kicked off, and no games on New Year's Day either. So it may go like that. We might not even have a Boxing Day. You never know. But yeah, for me, it's got to be away somewhere where I don't know, anywhere. I think away. Probably not London, but anywhere but a London team, maybe. So, and then last game of the season, whoever's bottom.
Can't play itself.
Can't play
itself.
Well, I was trying to be positive there, guys, and then you just said can't play itself. Yeah, that's mine. But Thursday, I don't know what sort of time. Be probably leaked anyway, an hour before, no doubt, on X.
Midday, I think.
Midday. So look out for that.
It's midday.
Yeah. All right, and the last bit of any other businesses there, you may have seen on our socials today that we put a little clip out of our next, after this one, the next podcast special that we're putting out. So luckily enough to be invited and have a little walk around Wednesday Warehouse yesterday in the sun, me and Stevie. So we had great meeting Luke and down there. Had a good chat. I asked him some questions, took loads of photos and films. So that will be released on Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. So look out for that. If you're into your memorabilia and all your, excuse me, got an itch. Sheffield Wednesday history, it is a must. I've got to say, get yourself down there. Open from 10 till 2 on a Sunday currently, but he's looking at opening it up to bookings and appointments only in the week. So that'll be out at 7 o'clock on Wednesday morning. But anything else, guys?
Just on that, people, if you see the shirts and what have you, Ash points out the fact that on the sign, a lot of his stuff, it is more museum than shop. So, and it's entirely worth it, though. Luke was a great bloke. Had a good hour and a half down there, went through some bits, had a look at it, and whether it be season ticket books, whether it be programs, you name it, we, between us, me and Ash, literally found the programs from our birthdays. They're all categorised. We've got scrapbooks that have been donated from the early 80s with the green and cuttings in. You've got every shirt that you can think of. You've got boots down there. You've got knives, a commemorative knife that was in there. You name it, they've got it. It's absolutely brilliant.
It is. Sorry, Anthony's just been on and he's just pulled me up on it. Excuse me, I've got an itch. Won't work on an audio-only medium. It was my ear that I was itching. Cheers, Anthony. Thank you very much for that. That's it. Another week in Sheffield Wednesday's turbulent history we've just gone through. And no doubt this week, or maybe the next coming 10, 14 days, is going to be a massive one. And I used that word. Yes, I did. In the history of Sheffield Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. Simon, Stevie, Charlie, it's been a pleasure as always. If you've liked what we've talked about, give the video a like, subscribe to us on all the socials down there. You can see them on the screen. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure as always. And just before we go, last thing, the nominations for the FCAs are open. So if you like what we do, if you love to vote for us, please do. It meant the world to us personally last year when we managed to take a prize, but we'd love to do it again this year. So thank you very much.
I'll wear trousers this year as well.
Please do.
Cheers, everyone. Have a good week, and hopefully it gets better for us all as Wednesday nights. See you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week, bringing you football analysis,
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
bringing you banter,
Yeah.
bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday Week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.